Shin Japan Heroes Universe. This is the brand that's been used to kind of have a bunch of merch related to the full Keanu. These include the films Shin Godzilla, Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Twice Upon a Time, Shin Ultraman, and Shin Kamen Rider. These films, released from 2016 through the current year of 2023, is what makes up this whole universe and brand collaboration between Kara, Toei, Toho, and Tsuburaya. So these companies have come together for shirts, for artwork, for just kind of other random things. But a couple weeks ago, which, yes, this is old news, but I wanted to talk about it now, they came together for the Shin Japan Heroes Universe Robo. And this is one of the craziest and coolest things that I have ever seen. So, being released as a premium Bandai item is this Universe robot that combines the main characters of all four of these franchises from all four of the companies into whatever this thing is. So I absolutely adore the design of this thing. It's wild, it's wacky, it's creative, it's kind of dumb, but it's like exactly the kind of thing that I would love. And honestly, since Super Sentai isn't included here, it kind of is having the Super Sentai aspect by being a combining robo, so that's not necessarily the intention with this item, but you could kind of make a sort of connection there to kind of have, you know, the last of the big Toku franchises represented in here somehow, because we aren't getting a Shingo Ranger film as far as we know, but I think that'd be pretty cool for Sentai's 50th anniversary to give Ono a shot at that. But today we're talking about that Robo that was revealed with an amazing trailer. This trailer was really interesting because not only did they have like a whole little story thing for this, have a whole little trailer to show it off, they actually created a physical suit of this thing to use in the trailer, which is just, you know, amazing that they actually bothered to do that. Like, there's an actual physical suit out there that has Ultraman's head, Kamen Rider on the top, Godzilla on the front, and Evangelion on the arm. Like, that is just something I never would have expected to have been an actual thing that actually exists. Because, like, who would have thought that any of these companies would work together to make something like this? Especially a combining robot of any of these characters. And in a way that I think makes a pretty good amount of sense. So they did their best that they could to have the character still be represented in like its original form in a way that still looks like normal. You know, obviously for any kind of combining robot, they have the original form try to look like something as much as it can before it can combine. So starting with Shin Godzilla, I think they did a really good job making him still look like Godzilla. He has nice textured patterns all over his tail and all over his back especially, with his spikes, which are painted very nicely, have that nice distinct kind of red sort of accents to them. He only becomes the torso of this thing, and also kind of like the supports for the arms and the supports for the legs are kind of the brief formation of those. And I think he might have the head in there kind of somewhere. But I think they did a good job for the fact that he kind of has to be the main sort of body of this thing. They did a pretty solid job making it still look like Godzilla in this form. And then moving over to Evangelion, this is the one franchise that I am the absolute least knowledgeable about. I have not ever seen Evangelion. I have seen this robot before, this purple and green robot, which I think looks pretty cool. It still looks like lanky and stuff like it's supposed to. The two kind of lanky characters, this and Shin Ultraman, make the arms of this formation. And I think that that was a good decision for both of these characters. You get some nice energy blast effect things and a little stand for that, which part of the final robo design becomes sort of part of the chest of Shin Godzilla. But it does still have a nice design to where you can have it be with just Evangelion on its own. And it looks like it's a relatively good posable version of this robo that I just will universe be, you know, shown off as well. And then moving over to Shin Ultraman, he's looking a little strange because Shin Ultraman's known for being so lanky. He kind of just always stands there menacingly. But in regards to that, his legs are a little bit more thicker than I would like because just of the transformation and things that they have to do. But he does have his Spacium Ray effect piece, which looks really cool as well. And I love what they do with that in the final combination where they turn that into the sword for this thing. That was just a really good idea. At first, I kind of thought it was like Godzilla, like Atomic Breath or something. But no, it's definitely Shin Ultraman's Spacium Ray. And that is just a really fun, clever thing to turn into a sword for this thing. I absolutely adore that. And also, it's cool too, because you can just have it for Ultraman in this standalone form. And then, of course, you can have it be the main Robo's main weapon, which is, I think, brilliant. And then the tiniest little dude here who's still included in some capacity is Shin Kamen Rider on his Cyclone. So this one is not really involved as much, it just sort of plugs into the top of the head there and kind of just becomes sort of a crown piece or like a helmet piece for this dude. And Kamen Rider is always going to be permanently posed onto the Cyclone in a riding formation, but I think it looks nice. It's a nice little tiny Kamen Rider thing you could just kind of have in your desk if you wanted to do that, but of course you can combine it with the Robo, and I think it will still look pretty good if you have all four of these separated. And I think that that's one of the biggest strengths of this robot, is that while the final combined form is wild and it's wacky and it's kind of strange, the individual four components, except for Ultraman's kind of thick legs we just talked about, I think all look solid enough to where you could have that on a display and it looks pretty cool. What's also really neat about it is that just due to the fact of how they designed this, you have three characters that are supposed to be big and giants: Godzilla, Evangelion, Ultraman, and then you actually have Kamen Rider be this tiny little dude on a motorcycle. And well, it's still not going to be scaled like 100% correctly, but it's still a really, really cool idea that they kept that in mind and they actually made Kamen Rider like a smaller dude compared to everybody else, because he would be the one on the ground, and that's why he just kind of rides up and forms the helmet for this dude, because he's not supposed to be a big giant dude. He's supposed to be just a normal sized dude on a normal sized motorcycle. So while, like I said, the scaling is still not perfect, of course, it's still pretty solid for, you know, all things considered, and I really like that kind of extra sort of detail to make this still feels somehow sort of believable, even though it's really much not. So back to that trailer that they made that physical suit for, you can kind of see the combination in that trailer, and of course it's going to combine a little bit differently when you actually have the physical item in front of you. I mean, obviously the physical suit cleans it up a little bit more, kind of fills it in a little bit more, because it's definitely sort of a lanky area. You know, some limbs are a little skinny and stuff like that, just by the way that's all going to form together. But the final thing is going to be 9.4 inches tall. It's going to come with some things like pedestals and ray effects for the different robots and for the different characters, and I love it. Just such a wild concept. The second I saw it, I said, yeah, I'm gonna need to pre-order that thing. And there's actually a lot of places where you can, thankfully so. So Toy Collectibles has it, Ami has it, Big Bad Toy Store has it, Amazon Japan has it. So this is a premium Bandai exclusive item, but a lot of different stores are getting it. So Toy Collectibles has one of the cheapest places you can get it, because they're also offering the China release. So the Japanese release is $235, but the China release is $215, which is including shipping with that, by the way. You can also get it from Ami for like $166, which is about what it retails for, but that doesn't include shipping. And then Amazon Japan is kind of about the same sort of price for that. Big Bad Toy Store is really expensive for it for some reason, but pretty much universally this is coming out in January of 2024 for all of these different stores. I absolutely bought this thing. I cannot wait to do a video on this thing. Maybe before then I'll watch a little bit of Evangelion to kind of get an idea of what that franchise even is. Maybe I'll also watch the other Shin films, because like I said earlier, I've only seen Shin Kamen Rider at the time of this video, but I just saw how creative and how collaborative and how wild this thing was between the four companies that made these four films, between Hideaki Anno's sort of vision of this universe, between Bandai getting all these companies to come together to make this a thing, and just the overall concept of it was something I just absolutely loved. And also, I wanted some merchandise for Shin Kamen Rider and for Shin Ultraman, and I really don't have anything Godzilla in my collection, and as I've said, don't really know much about Evangelion, so this was something that I thought was absolutely fun, absolutely perfect, and it's just kind of one of those perfectly wild, wacky tokusatsu things that I saw it and I went, yeah, I need that for my collection. So I am a little late to covering this news. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below about the SJHU Project Shin Universe Robo. Are you picking this up? What do you think of this wild, crazy thing? Would you go suit for it? I wonder if they'd actually do something else with this. I think like a kind of like a web special or something would be a lot of fun. And could you even imagine like a full movie of these four characters interacting together if they actually made like a Shin Japan Heroes Universe film? I know that's not their intention. They've even said that this is more of a brand marketing kind of thing so they can do merchandise rather than like films, but I don't know. I think the demand would be there, and I think that this is such a fun thing. So I'd love to know your guys' thoughts about it down in the comments below. And of course, until next time, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LivingRangerKey or LennyFigPR, and I will see you all later. To wrap up this video, I'd like to thank my $5 and above patrons: Jurassic Samurai, Maggot Alchemist, Robert Browning, Static Thunder, Brendan Overland, Maji Yellow, MCPC Studios, Comics 1017, James Darty, John Luke, Eric Berry, Tyler Bezetsky, Matthew Thorne, Josh Landry, Pyramidus, CPT Tesla, Cross SCV, Caboose Ed, Socket Monsters, Anthony Love, Daniel Pika, Hella Geo, Thrasher, Jesus Prime, and Uni Warrior Thomas. You can support Toku Topics for as little as $1 a month on my Patreon, linked in the description below.